Please be advised that this podcast is meant for educational and informational purposes only and is in no way a replacement for legal or medical advice. The opinions contained within are solely those of the interviewers and interviewees and should be received as so. Those seeking help or advice are encouraged to obtain professional legal and medical services.
Check, 1 2 1 2.
Live across the universe.
Check it out.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's about that time, y'all.
you are now in the mix.
It's time to wake up, folks. Don't touch that button. You're locked in to Wake Up Live from K.L.P Studios.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and welcome back to Wake Up ATL live from K.L.P Studios. Here's the latest in top news. Artificial intelligence is reshaping work faster than anyone predicted. Today's news about Amazon cutting 14,000 corporate jobs, not because they're struggling, but because AI is transforming their entire business model. Minus shows we're at a turning point that will affect all of us.
Those numbers are pretty staggering when you think about it. Here's Amazon, posting a 13% increase in sales to $167.7 billion, and yet they're making these dramatic cuts. What does that tell us about where things are heading?
Well, let me put this in perspective. Amazon has about 350,000 corporate employees worldwide, so we're talking about a significant percentage of their white-collar workforce. And what's really fascinating is how openly they're acknowledging AI's role in this decision.
The timing of this announcement seems particularly strategic, doesn't it? Especially coming right before their quarterly earnings report.
You know what makes this so significant? Beth Galletti, their senior VP, called AI the most transformative technology we've seen since the internet. That's not just corporate speak. They're fundamentally rethinking how their entire organization should work.
And this isn't their first round of cuts either. They laid off 27,000 workers just last year during their post-pandemic adjustment.
Right, but here's what's different this time. They're not cutting jobs because of poor performance or market conditions. They're explicitly saying they need to be organized more leanly to take advantage of AI opportunities. It's like they're completely reimagining what a corporate structure should look like.
That phrase, organised more leanly, really stands out. What exactly do they mean by that?
Well, according to Andy Jassy, their CEO, it means they'll need fewer people doing routine tasks that AI can handle, but more people in new types of roles. They're not just automating work, they're transforming how work gets done.
The way they're handling these transitions seems carefully planned too, offering to help affected employees find new roles within Amazon or providing severance packages.
But here's what I find particularly interesting. Amazon's cloud business, AWS, has been growing more slowly than competitors like Microsoft and Google. Some investors are skeptical about when these massive AI investments will actually pay off.
So this could also be about sending a message to Wall Street that they're serious about efficiency and innovation.
Exactly. And when you look at the broader implications, this move by Amazon could be a blueprint for how other companies approach AI integration. They're essentially saying that traditional corporate hierarchies might not be the best way to operate in an AI-driven world.
The ripple effects across the tech industry could be enormous.
Let me share something else that's fascinating. Ben Berenger, a technology analyst at Quilter Cheviot, pointed out that we're already seeing AI tools affecting software development jobs. These aren't just entry-level positions being impacted. We're talking about highly skilled technical roles.
That's what makes this so different from previous waves of automation, isn't it?
Absolutely right. And here's another key point. Amazon's doing this from a position of strength. Their second quarter results beat Wall Street expectations. They're not making these changes because they have to. They're making them because they believe they need to stay ahead of the AI revolution.
The speed of these changes is what really gets me. We're not talking about gradual adjustments over years anymore.
And think about what this means for other companies. If Amazon, with all its resources and success, feels the need to make such dramatic changes to prepare for an AI-driven future, how do smaller companies compete and adapt?
That's going to be one of the biggest challenges going forward, especially for companies that don't have Amazon's resources.
You know what's particularly striking about all this? The transparency. They're not hiding behind vague corporate language. They're explicitly saying that AI is driving these changes and that they need to transform their organization to take advantage of it.
Looking ahead, what should we be watching for as indicators of whether this strategy is working?
Well, I think there are three key things to watch. First, how quickly Amazon can implement these changes without disrupting their core business. Second, whether their AI investments start showing returns in their cloud computing division. And third, how other major tech companies respond to this move.
Until next time, everyone, the future of work is being reshaped right before our eyes, and we'll be here to keep you informed every step of the way.
The U.S. stock market pushed further into record heights on Tuesday. The S&P 500 added 0.2%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 161 points, or 0.3%, and the Nasdaq Composite climbed 0.8%. All three indexes set all-time highs for a third straight day. Moves were also relatively modest in the bond market as Wall Street waits for a few events that could shake things up. On Wednesday, the Federal Reserve will announce its latest move on interest rates, while some of the stock market's most influential companies will report how much profit they made during the summer. On Thursday, President Donald Trump will meet China's leader, Xi Jinping, in hopes of smoothing tensions between the world's two largest economies. Until then, profit reports from overnight and the morning were the main drivers of Tuesday's action. United Parcel Service rallied 8% after delivering stronger profit and revenue for the latest quarter than analysts expected. UPS also gave a forecast for revenue in the all-important holiday shipping season that was slightly above analysts' expectations. PayPal climbed 3.9% after saying it made a bigger profit during the summer than analysts expected. It also said it plans to pay its shareholders a dividend every 3 months, while announcing a deal where internet users will be able to pay for purchases through OpenAI's ChatGPT. Skyworks Solutions climbed 5.8% after saying it would merge with Qorvo in a cash and stock deal, where Skyworks shareholders will own roughly 63% of the combined company, valued at $22 billion. Qorvo's stock rose nearly as much, 5.7%. Microsoft was one of the strongest forces lifting the market after rising 2%. That sent the company's total value on Wall Street above $4 trillion. On the losing end of Wall Street was Royal Caribbean, which lost 8.5% despite reporting a stronger profit than analysts expected. Its revenue for the latest quarter fell short of expectations. The cruise operator also said it's seen a minimal hit to its business this quarter because of bad weather, along with the temporary closure of one of its exclusive destinations in Haiti. Homebuilder D.R. Horton sank 3.2% after reporting a weaker profit for the summer than analysts expected. Executive Chairman David Old said his company is still dealing with homebuyers finding it challenging to afford a house, along with cautious consumer sentiment. He said D.R. Horton will likely have to keep offering incentives in the upcoming fiscal year to attract buyers. Amazon, meanwhile, rose 1% after saying it will cut about 14,000 corporate jobs, or about 4% of its corporate workforce, as it ramps up spending on artificial intelligence while cutting costs elsewhere. A slowing job market is one of the main reasons Wall Street expects the Fed to announce another cut to interest rates on Wednesday. It would be the second time this year that it's lowered the federal funds rate in hopes of helping the job market. The widespread expectation is that the Fed will also cut rates for a third time at its final meeting of the year. A lot is riding on that, in part because U.S. stock prices have already rallied to records on expectations for it. That means the most important part of Wednesday's announcement for Wall Street will be whether Fed Chair Jerome Powell gives any hints about upcoming moves. Fed officials have indicated that they're likely to keep cutting interest rates next year, but they may have to change course if inflation accelerates beyond its still high level. That's because low interest rates can make inflation worse. In the bond market, the yield on the 10-year Treasury eased to 3.97% from 4.01% late Monday. A report showing confidence among U.S. consumers is a smidgen better than economists expected, had little effect on the market. On Wall Street, the S&P 500 rose 15.73 points to 6,890.89. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed 161.78 to 47,706.37. And the Nasdaq Composite gained 190.04 to 23,827.49.
Here's a mind-bending statistic. The average wedding guest now spends over $1,200 per wedding in 2023, and if you're in the wedding party, that number can triple. But what's really fascinating is how this financial pressure is reshaping modern friendships.
That's such a timely observation. I was just talking with someone who had to decline being a bridesmaid because the total cost would have been more than her monthly salary.
You know what's really interesting about this whole situation? Christine Hargrove from the University of Georgia's Love and Money Center has found that these wedding expenses are actually damaging long-term friendships. She made this fascinating point about how money has become intrinsically linked to how we show up for each other.
That really makes me think about how weddings have evolved from simple celebrations into these elaborate multi-day events. What's driving this escalation?
Well, I think social media plays a huge role. But what's really catching my attention is how this is creating this strange paradox where celebrations meant to strengthen bonds are actually straining them. I mean, when you have bridesmaids taking out loans just to participate, something's clearly off balance.
That's exactly what I've been seeing. And it's not just the wedding day anymore. It's the engagement party, multiple showers, bachelor or bachelorette weekends.
Right. And get this. Wedding planners are reporting that pre-wedding events can sometimes cost more than the actual wedding day itself. Sarah Schreiber, this former magazine weddings editor turned consultant, emphasizes how crucial it is for couples to remember that their guests have different financial situations and abilities to take time off work.
So what solutions are emerging from all this? I've heard about some really creative approaches.
Oh, there are some fascinating trends developing. Some couples are booking hotel blocks at different price points, which is such a simple but effective way to accommodate different budgets. Others are covering transportation costs or even arranging childcare services. But what I find really interesting is this growing movement toward no-gifts weddings.
That's making me think about how the whole gift culture has shifted. Remember when wedding gifts were meant to help couples set up their first home together?
Exactly. And now, with most couples living together before marriage, we're seeing this shift toward experiences over things. But here's what's particularly intriguing. There's this growing trend of couples actively trying to reduce costs for their guests.
You know, I've noticed that with clothing too. The whole wear it once culture seems to be fading.
That's such an important point. The rise of rental services like Rent the Runway and Nuuly is really challenging those old assumptions about needing new outfits for every event. And when you think about it, this ties into broader conversations about sustainability and conscious consumption.
These changes really seem to reflect larger shifts in how we think about celebration and community.
Well, what's fascinating is how this is leading to more open conversations about money in general. You know, wedding expenses have become this sort of catalyst for broader discussions about financial boundaries and expectations in relationships. Some friend groups are now having explicit conversations about their wedding budgets for the year.
That kind of transparency must be helping prevent a lot of resentment and misunderstandings.
Absolutely. And here's what I find really powerful. Christine Hargrove's research shows that direct, honest communication about financial limitations actually strengthens relationships rather than damaging them. It's creating this space where people can be vulnerable about their financial realities without feeling ashamed.
That's such a shift from even just a few years ago when talking about money was completely taboo in most social circles.
You know what else is interesting? The way some people are finding creative alternatives to expensive wedding participation. I heard about this group of friends who couldn't afford a destination wedding, so they organized this beautiful local celebration when the couple returned. complete with home-cooked meals and personalized touches that ended up being more meaningful than if they'd just shown up at the destination.
Those kinds of solutions really show how love and celebration don't have to be tied to specific dollar amounts.
And that's really the heart of this whole discussion, isn't it? How do we maintain these important social bonds and celebrate life's big moments without creating financial stress that actually undermines those very relationships? I think we're seeing a really interesting evolution in how people approach this balance.
Well, that makes me wonder about the future of weddings. Where do you see this heading?
You know, I'm actually quite optimistic. We're seeing younger couples really questioning traditional wedding expectations. They're asking themselves, do we really need a formal rehearsal dinner? Or could we have a morning ceremony and brunch reception instead of an expensive evening event? It's like they're rewriting the rules to create celebrations that actually reflect their values.
That really brings it all together. It's about finding that sweet spot between celebration and consideration.
Exactly. And as we wrap up, I think it's worth noting that this isn't just about weddings. It's about how we show up for each other in all of life's big moments. It's about creating joyful celebrations that bring people together rather than causing stress and anxiety. Maybe that's the real wedding gift we should be giving each other, the freedom to celebrate in ways that feel authentic and sustainable for everyone involved.
Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Live across the universe.
Check it out.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's about that time, y'all.
you are now in the mix.
It's time to wake up, folks. Don't touch that button. You're locked in to Wake Up Live from K.L.P Studios.
Made in Georgia. This week's episode has come to an end. But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.